Well, hey guys, it's Dr. Drake 63 here. Thanks for joining me today. You know, for the longest time, as long as I've been involved in shooting, I've always been involved in speed shooting. I've had a fascination for how much lead, how many rounds I can put down range as quick as possible. Now, that's not to say I'm not interested in taking my time and aiming and things like that. I do plenty of that. Obviously, as a predominantly bolt action rifle deer hunter and things of that nature, that's about making that one shot count. But in terms of when I'm practicing with whether it be lever action, whether it be AR type platform rifles, or any kind of handgun, whether it be a revolver or a semi-auto, I want to practice often how quickly I can get rounds down range, and that means double taps, that means magazine dumps, you name it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, number one, it just excites me, so I can't refute the fact that I just think it's cool. But also, especially when you're talking self-defense, and you know, here's an in the waistband concealed carry firearm that I carry. It's the Glock 43X, and this is a 9mm that carries 10 rounds and one in the chamber, so 11 rounds. You can get extensions, you can get that more or whatever. Nice sleek profile. I've done a couple videos about this firearm. It's a Glock. Boring to many, myself included sometimes, but we know that they work well and they've got a great reputation. Okay. If I ever have to go to a firearm to protect myself, to protect my family, I think about a couple different scenarios. I don't know if you guys remember from The Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood, where he basically talks about how it's important to keep your head and carefully aim and take your time and you're going to prevail. And that might have been true in the 1800s when guys were walking around with their Colt Walkers and things like that. But in today's day and age, where most likely the person that's shooting at you is going to have 15 rounds or more, and they're going to be dumping rounds on you quickly, and you're going to be needing to evade, bob, weave, the whole 9 yards. The name of the game is having those rounds and getting as many of them on target as you can. I'll give you a great case in point. If you guys remember Michael Brown, who was the famous hands up, don't shoot guy from Ferguson that started that whole mess. Well, he was hit 7 times by a .40 caliber rifle by a police officer. And 6 of those bullets were not enough to stop him. He was a relatively close range. He was charging. He's a big guy. But 6 of those bullets were in places like, you know, his abdomen, his arm, the side of his torso, things like that. It was actually 6 shots, and I'm not trying to trivialize this young man's death. I'm just trying to make the point here. But the one that stopped him was the one that got him, you know, right in the head. And the bottom line is that was made possible in somewhat of a panic, quick situation by the fact that the officer was able to get 7 rounds off super quick. Most people are going to be able to shoot quickly with a semi-auto a lot more proficiently than they can with a handgun. And there's exceptions to that. Jerry M. and people like that can do wonders with speed shooting, but even then you're going to be a little bit limited. So whether or not you're carrying a revolver with 5 shots like a snub nose, like a lot of guys do, maybe you've got a plus 686 or something like that from Smith & Wesson where you have 7 rounds or whatever the case may be. Sometimes the need will be there to get a bunch of rounds off quick, and that's why I practice. I do a lot of double taps. I do, like I said, either cylinder or magazine dumps. The thought being, hey, I want to take that person down. My whole philosophy is simple. I don't ever want to hurt a fly. I don't. The thought of that is repellent to me. However, if someone ever does mean to do harm to my family or myself, I'm not only going to be looking for center mass, I'm going to turn that person into Swiss cheese. That's just the way it is. And so that's why I practice the way I do, is to be prepared for any kind of situation. And look, I'm typically practicing at either 10 or 25 yards with these scenarios. I'm not thinking that I'm going to put all my bullets in a little space. I'm trying to put them all in a human-sized torso center mass kind of scenario. And I've got over the years to where by practicing that, I can do that fairly good. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm not claiming to be the guy that's going to go win the competition. But I will tell you this. If you're somebody that conceal carries and you have never practiced firing 3 or 4 rounds or double taps or anything as fast as you can, if the time comes where that's what's called for, you're not going to be able to do it. So just like anything else in the firearms game, guys, practice for the scenario you want to be prepared for. If you don't practice, you won't be prepared. If you do practice, it's no guarantee, but odds are you're going to have a much better opportunity to do something. So I'm real curious in hearing what kind of different routines that you guys do to practice speed shooting. I do a lot of practice whereby I'll have a firearm laying right on the bench in front of me, and then you know, a little timer will go off in my head. I'll pick up the firearm and discharge the rounds as quickly as I can, with the picking up being part of it. You usually can't do this at a range, but when I'm in a private area or someplace out in the woods or whatever, I will practice unholstering quite a bit. And I do practice unholstering and dry firing at home as well. In addition to all of that, I've got a couple of routines, one of which is where I fire a couple of rounds, and that's all I have in the magazine. I've got another magazine right by, and I practice as quick as I can doing that. And I have practiced with speed loaders as well, although, gosh, the time it takes to even a good speed loader in going up against somebody with a Glock with 17 rounds or something, you're probably gonna have some issues there. But if you don't ever practice speed loading, you will not be able to do it when adrenaline's taking over your body. So with that in mind, I'm real interested in your guys' routines. What do you do to shoot fast? And we'll go from there. But I really appreciate you tuning in as always. This is Dr. Drake 63 saying, have a good day, carry on, support the Second Amendment, no matter what.